Chapter 17. As Billy was kneading the dough to set aside to rise, he looked at Daniel. He was mopping the shop's floor. "Have you given some thought to Christmas yet?" he asked. Daniel straightened up, rested his elbow on the top of the broomstick and fixed his gaze on Billy. "It is about 10 days away, isn't it?" "Yeah, it sure is, and we need to decorate this place a bit, don't you think?" "You mean like with a Christmas tree or something?" "Maybe not a Christmas tree, but more like tinsel and Christmas decorations. What do you say?" "Do you usually decorate the shop?" Daniel asked, sounding unconvinced. "Oh yeah, I try making the place look festive with colourful napkins and a bit of holly here and there, and candles on the tables. Some years I put the manger Laura had made with ice cream sticks." "Oh wow," Daniel exclaimed. "That sounds very nice. Do you think you'll put it up this year?" "Yeah, I think it will be good to have baby Jesus' company for a while, don't you think?" "Sure will," Daniel said, resuming his mopping the floor. "What about the storeroom? Do you think we could go and get a can of paint today, so that I could get it all nice before Christmas?" Billy chuckled. "You already sound like a wife, you know that? Ready to redecorate the place days after you moved in." "Well, you said that I could stay and that the room would do with some freshening up, didn't you?" Okay, boy, let's finish what we're doing, and then we'll sort out the boxes and cartons in the storeroom. We need to clean it up anyway before we paint it, okay?" "All right," Daniel shouted. "Let's get a move on then," he added with renewed vigour. For Daniel, it was going to be his first Christmas away from his family. Yet he was looking forward to it now, same as a kid waiting for Santa Claus to come down the chimney. He loved the idea of decorating the little restaurant and hoped to convince Billy to buy a Christmas tree this year. He looked around him as he continued mopping the floor, and tried positioning the tree and the manger beside it on a table in his mind's eye. By the time he completed the task and was rinsing the bucket and mop outside with a garden hose, Daniel was smiling. The Christmas spirit seemed to have invaded his heart. He felt to be where he was for the first time since he left the cruiser. When Billy and Daniel came back from shopping a tree in the back of the pickup, Billy couldn't stop grinning. "You know, Daniel, it's actually the first time since my son left home that we will have a Christmas tree in the house." "What about your son?" Daniel asked as Billy parked the truck in front of the restaurant. "Is he coming to visit for Christmas?" "Oh no, son, like I told you before, he lives too far to come for a visit. Besides, he's got kids of his own now." "Yes, I remember you saying that. So you're a grandfather, eh?" Daniel cut in, all smiles. "Are you going to go and visit sometimes then?" Billy fell silent for a minute. Daniel could have sworn he saw some tears purl at the rim of his eyes. "Let's get the tree in and put it in some dirt and water so it doesn't shed too much of its needles, okay?" "Okay," Daniel said, hopping out of the truck and climbing into the back of it to get the tree and the bags of supplies they had bought at the houseware store. As soon as they got the supplies and sorted out the tree and the bucket of dirt and water, they placed it in the far corner of the restaurant. Daniel couldn't wait. He opened the boxes of decorations and started putting them around the tree. He whistled a happy tune while he stretched garlands and dropped tinsels from one branch to another and felt as if this Christmas was going to be the one he would remember forever. In the meantime, Billy began sorting through the boxes and cartons they had brought out of the storeroom to see what he wanted to discard or keep. When he was about to open the last box on the floor, he pulled a chair from beside one of the tables, sat on it, and stared down at the carton. Daniel watched him from the corner of his eye. "What's up, Billy?" he asked. "What's in that box?" "Some old toys, I think," Billy replied, not looking up. "Well, aren't you going to look?" "I don't think what's in there will be any good to anyone." "What about your grandkids?" Daniel asked, coming to stand beside the big guy. "Can I open it?" Billy only nodded and watched as Daniel unfolded the upper flaps of the carton. He then knelt down in surprise. The toys were beautiful. There was a teddy bear dressed with a knitted vest, rimmed glasses atop its nose, and an old cap on its head. "Wow," Daniel said, taking the little guy out of the box. "Would you look at him? He looks like an old professor. He's great, Billy." He looked up at his friend. "Yes, he is, isn't he? Laura dressed him for John. He was such a good student that she wanted him to have Professor Ted as a mascot on his desk. He loved it, actually." Billy's words trailed off. Once again, the memories of past Christmases and old times came flooding back. Meanwhile, Daniel looked at the other toys in the box. There was a small wooden locomotive, all painted red and black, a small box of tools, and a little painting. He pulled it out. "This is great," he said. "Did your son paint this?" "Oh no, that's one of Laura's paintings. John loved it because it was the park where he used to play." "She was very talented, wasn't she?" Daniel said, replacing the bear and the painting in the box. He looked up at Billy. "Here's an idea. Why don't you send the box to your son for Christmas? Maybe his kids would enjoy these toys. What do you say?" "I don't know, Daniel, but maybe it will remind him of the meaning of Christmas." Billy sounded thoughtful and remained silent for a minute. As Daniel closed the carton, Billy said, "Yeah, why don't we do that? It's about time he remembers what he enjoyed when he was a kid himself." and got up from his chair. I'll get some wrapping paper, and then we've got it all ready to go. I'll drive to the post office and send it today, so John can get it before Christmas, okay? Sounds like a plan, Daniel agreed, returning to decorating the tree. Unexpectedly, that evening the little restaurant filled up rather rapidly. People came in and couldn't stop commenting on the Christmas decor. They enjoyed their pizzas, their side salads, and even bought some jars of pickled jalapenos to give to friends. As for the kids, they couldn't stay away from standing in front of the tree. Billy had given them a candy cane each, and they seemed mesmerized when looking at it, as if it was a gift straight from Santa. Some of them made comments about the manger and the little figurines in and around it. Some of the customers even noted the beautiful lights outside that Daniel had stretched across the eaves and around the shop's windows. At the end of the night, Daniel and Billy sat down at the back of the shop, exhausted. Probably been the best day in the whole year, Billy said to Daniel as the two of them sipped on a glass of Chianti from a bottle that Billy had opened for the occasion. Daniel couldn't help but laugh. And all that because we decided to put up some lights around the place. It feels great, doesn't it? You can say that again, Billy replied, chuckling. And now, how about some linguine and a nice salad for dinner? What do you say? Perfect, Daniel shouted, getting up and rushing to the kitchen to get the plates. The day had been a long one for Malou and the children. Damianos had told them that they would have to leave the boat and be on their way to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania that night. Will we come back later? Gabby asked as she was packing the freezer and emptying the fridge. There's quite a bit of food in here, and if we're not coming back it will be lost. Since destiny will remain suspended in a time warp, the food will be okay, Gabby, Damianos replied. But we should make sure that nothing can spoil or fall out of the cupboards in case there's a storm in the meantime, okay? What about the clothes and the things we bought? Should we leave them behind too? Stefano asked. And my caddy in the parking lot, is it going to travel or stay here? It should be disappearing as soon as we leave, Stefano. That car will belong to another time and will only come back to your memory once you're back to 2013. Oh, wow, Gabby said. You mean I couldn't take any of the clothes I wore? No, Gabby, Malou interposed. You heard what Damiano said. Everything is to stay here in the cruiser, and maybe we'll find them when we return to Florida. She looked up at their cat. Right? Right you are, my dear. As the evening drew near, the little family was ready. They knew it was going to be a difficult journey, especially for Malou. Damianos told her about the eventual temptations that might arise along the way. What about Daniel's birth? Will he feel the difference? She asked their cat. He probably will not realize what is happening, since he lives in a time ahead of us. Yet you will be the one who will have to face the time when your son will be taken away from you as soon as he's born, Malou. He will disappear from your arms minutes after his birth, and I'm afraid I can't prevent that from happening. I'm sorry. Seeing that her mother was on the verge of tears, Gabby drew her in her arms and whispered, It's going to be okay, Mum. He'll be okay, and we'll see him when we travel to the year where he's gone, okay? Malou nodded, resignedly, and drew away from Gabby's embrace. Yes, okay, she said, and then looked up at Damianos. Let's go, then. All right, then, Damianos said as they climbed up on the deck. You three hold hands now, and let's leave this place. He then extended both arms toward the sky and said, Please, Lord, let us travel to our destination with your guidance and watchful care. As soon as the last words were out of his mouth, Malou, Stefano and Gabby were lifted in a fog that seemed to swirl around them at incredible speed. A moment later they slowed down and began seeing scenes that were first familiar to Malou. In one of them she was holding Stefano in her arms while cooking some pasta in the kitchen. She looked tired. Oh God, I remember that day. I was worn out, she whispered. It was the day before Daniel was born. Why were you holding me in your arms if you felt tired? Stefano asked. Oh, because you couldn't settle down. You were as tired as I was, and the only way to calm you down was to hold you. Where was Dad then? Gabby asked. He was on his way back. Back from where? I can't remember, Gabby, but your dad was travelling a lot in those days, and although I understood that his work was important to him, I wanted him home. Their little chat was suddenly interrupted when they landed in the maternity ward where Daniel was born. This is going to be so hard. If Damianos is right, we'll see Daniel for a few seconds and then... Malou stopped talking when they saw a baby being brought into the room. Mum, look, that's Dad, Gabby erupted when she saw her father enter the room. Yes, Gabby, but I can't tell him how much I miss him, otherwise he'll be tempted to stay with me. At the same moment, in another dimension, Dan was looking at the scene in the hospital room. That's not on, Chippewa. That's absolute nonsense. Look at Malou. She needs me. I want to go to her. He yelled as he tried to free his hand from Gustavo's grip. The latter turned to him, still holding his hand. If you want to destroy your lives, that would be a perfect way to do it, you idiot. If you move an inch toward that woman, I swear I'll clobber you right here, right now. Understand me? Seeing Gustavo was far from joking, Dan bowed his head in defeat. Thank you, Gustavo, Chippewa said. I think the good Lord has a good idea when he led you to the shelter that night, wouldn't you say? Too right you are, Chippewa, and now I understand more than ever what you meant by me preventing my stubborn friend here from jumping off the cliff. He chuckled as Dan finally cracked a smile.